Hi, welcome to Write More Light. My name is Sarah with Midwest Writing Center, and I'm super pumped to add this interview with Krystina Franks to our little infomercial on the Young Emerging Writers Internship. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Krystina. She's currently a senior at Central DeWitt High School. She's the lead editor and is published in The Scribbler, her school's literary magazine, a member of the newspaper staff, part of the yearbook staff, and of course, she's been an internship at the Midwest Writing Center's Young Emerging Writers Internship. You can find some of her work published, of course, in the Atlas. She will be attending the University of Northern Ireland, I almost said Ireland, to major in early childhood education and special education with a minor in creative writing. Yes, I love this part of her bio. She is, I have a cat on my mouse, so my screen is moving around. I apologize. She is known for her colorful clothing and as I hate this, and as a poet. Don't hate that. She is known as a poet. When she's not writing, which is rare, you can find her reading bedtime stories to her 6 cats, shopping for oversized grandma sweaters, or hiding in the school library. Krystina, thank you so much for being here with me today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Got a better cat position now. Time to party. So is there anything we should know before we get started? Other than, what I just read?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, cool. Let's just dig in. When did you start writing?
Well, that's actually a really cool story. So when I was little, I was diagnosed with dysgraphia, which is basically a writing disorder. And I was told that I would never be able to write and that writing would be something that I would always struggle with. And I hated that. I always wanted to prove people wrong. So I was the kid who was like, instead of learning math, I would be practicing my tracing and letters and stuff. So I kind of started when I was little, but at the same time I didn't because I was always under the impression that I would never be able to write. And then in 6th grade, maybe 5th grade, I started realizing that I can write and that, I have something that a lot of people don't, which is I observe a lot of things. So I write more, I guess, truth than everybody else does. And then in 6th grade, people were writing a lot of terrible things in my class. They were talking about how the world was perfect and stuff as a 6th grader. And I who had dealt with a lot of bullying and medication and all these different labels, had not seen the world the same way they had. And nobody wants to listen to a 6th grader with a stutter. So I was like, I'll just write it all down. And that's when I started writing a lot more, and it started meaning a lot to me. So
I had no idea that you had dysgraphia. I worked briefly as a reading and writing specialist, and that's one of my favorite that's one of my favorite, not favorite, but pet interests in neuroatypical brains, just because there's been so much done to sort of undermine the ideas that you were given as a child. Never tell a child they can't do something. Sorry. Also, I started giggling when you said everybody was writing about how great the world is in 6th grade because, a month into my 6th grade year, 9/11 happened. Which isn't funny. It's not funny at all, but nobody was writing about how great the world is when I was in 6th grade. I really love that story. I've never heard that story before. And it is even more reasons that you are the biggest baddie. So when did you start thinking of yourself as a writer? Or do you think of yourself as a writer?
I think I do a lot more since the internship. I think of myself because I'm published now, so I can be like, haha, go read my writing. I'm a writer. But I think writing has always been a hobby of mine. more of like a stress relief, if anything. So I never really thought of myself as a writer. But now that it's my entire life, it's all I do, it's all I talk about, I definitely do think I started to see that part of myself maybe last year or even the beginning of this year.
I love that. I didn't think of I thought of myself as a writer, but I didn't call myself a writer until I was like 27 probably. Um, and I was working in this writing program for professional adult writers, and someone asked me if I was a writer, and I thought she meant, are you one of the residents? And I was like, no, no, no. And she was like, no, I mean, are you a writer? And I said, well, I like to think so, which was always my like nice little joke. Um, and she was like, no, then you're a writer. And I was like, oh. And she's totally right. Like, if you don't call yourself a writer, who will? So that was a really important growing moment for me. A whole 10 years after you. And I'm wondering too, you said you started writing truths. Can you tell me about why you did that? Why, in response to all of this happy stuff, you were like, bro, the world is out there though.
Well, when I was little, people would just tell me what I wanted to hear. I had a lot of different learning differences and a, a lot of like I guess I grew up in the special education side of school, and so I dealt with really honest people and people who just didn't want to deal with conflict. So I had the people who were
Like it
telling
was one or the other.
yeah, I had the people who were telling me I would never be anything, I would never amount to anything, I would never tie my shoes or learn to write or learn to ride a bike. And then I also had the people who were like my parents and stuff who would just they were afraid of me getting upset, so they would just tell me anything I wanted to hear. So they'd be like, "Oh, of course you can do it. You're a superhero. Of course you can." Like, so I never saw the side that everybody else saw, which was like the just what was happening. Saw either the truth or what people wanted me to think. And
Hold on. I think that there's probably both truth in both of those things and also lies in both of those
there
things.
probably
I
is,
will
but
never believe, and granted, I met you after all this growth, but I will never believe there's something you can't do.
yeah, but as a sixth grader, you don't try to read into things. You either
Fair. All right.
I was kind of sick of people telling me like not being honest, and then everybody else um, would just act like the world was a beautiful place, and then I was in the back of the classroom being like um, just degraded by teachers. And but my classmates had never experienced that because my classmates learned the way that the teachers wanted them to. So they had never experienced what I had. So then when I wrote, it was very a different side of education. And my teachers didn't really like that, but I loved writing it. And um, I remember one of the first stories that I like remember writing was in like sixth grade, and we had to write a short story and between like 1 and 2 pages. I think mine was 5. And
Chip off the old block there.
and the grammar was terrible. I think I went back and read it like last year. Terrible writing.
Where's classist? It's fine.
But it was about a girl getting kidnapped from school and learning all the secrets that like and she was kidnapped by a teacher, and she was learning all the secrets that like education and everything. And and I remember I got a terrible grade on it because I wrote a terrible grade, but my teacher did tell my mom I had a creative mind. So
okay. It sounds awesome. It sounds so awesome. I hope that grade was about grammar or something because it sounds amazing. I read this book. It's a YA book called How to Lead a Life of Crime. And at first, your story reminded me of that. But really what happens is they took street kids and taught them to be white collar criminals. And I think that's probably a real thing, but not important for today. I love that. So there was something, I love hearing that you've just kind of always been a rebel, because you seem very like just sweet and um and and that's even better for me, right? Like the idea that you can be sweet and a rebel is one of the coolest things that we don't see. Like that's not in the media. And it's also like one of the very best things that we can do in life is both be kind and tell people when they're wrong. See more, this interview is just actually why Krystina is better than everyone. It's the Krystina Rules show. So you said that writing is a bit of a catharsis for you. It's therapeutic. Is that why you write or why you started writing? Why do you write today?
Well, to be honest, I started writing to copy my sister because my older sister used to write all the time. And so, of course, being 7 years younger than her,
That's probably why I started writing.
When I watched her do it, I'd be like, why can't I do it? I want to write just like you. But I've never been good at words. I stutter a lot and I can't really get out what I want to say as fast as I want to say it. But when I'm writing, who cares if I spell a word wrong in my journal or my diary? Who cares if I didn't use the correct grammar? At least it's out there, and at least I'm saying what I need to say. And not everybody needs to hear what I have to say all the time, but it helps me organize my thoughts, and it helps me like make decisions sometimes. Like if it's stuck between two decisions, or if sometimes if I want to tell someone something and I don't know how, I'll write them a letter and then I'll like stick it in their locker or somewhere, and then I don't have to tell them face to face, but that's still my words, and that just helps a lot.
I definitely have a thing where like if I have to do it face to face, I'm gonna mess up. But I love that you said, and I'm sorry for interrupting, we will get back to what you were saying. You said that you've always been bad at words, and one of my greatest pet peeves, and I think that at this point in time people just do it to bother me, but I can't be sure of that, is when people are like, well, if you're a writer, shouldn't you be better with words? I'm like, no, I can't talk. That's why the paper doesn't, there's no pressure. Nobody's looking at me like that when I'm writing.
Right. The only thing
Also, you're mean. Why would I be eloquent when you're mean?
it's well, like I think also the paper doesn't judge you. The paper, like I can't say that the paper doesn't have feelings because I talk to my paper. I like as I'm writing, I'll be like, are you sure these are the words you want on you? Like something like, just be like, I'll talk to my journals. But like it doesn't talk back, and it can't tell you when your ideas are stupid or when you have a bad train of thought. Like, a person, yes, a person will tell you. Like if you're being stupid, a person will just yell at you, and I can't take that pressure.
And even if they don't, like you're pretty sure they're judging you.
Yes. And it's also like writing it down. I tend to hurt less people if I write things down because I'm a very bold and honest person. So if there's something that you do that I don't agree with, I'll tell you. And I've learned it's easier to write it down before I tell that person, because then I can read how mean it sounds.
That's smart. That's really smart. That is a pragmatic way to go about it. I may adopt that plan. Now this I know is like a complicated question, but do you love writing? Do you hate writing? Do you medium writing?
I absolutely love it. Writing is my thing. It's not to be self-centered, but it's something that not a lot of people can do. So what do well. Everybody can write to some extent, but I like to think that I'm an okay, maybe even just like a top over okay writer, and that sets me apart from other people. And
You can think you're good. That's allowed.
and
I think you're good.
I love I love having something that I'm good at. I've never really had that before, just because I've always been behind everybody at like at my educational level with everything that I've talked about before. I've always been behind. So with writing, I'm a step ahead because I'm actually doing stuff with it. Like you can be there's I think there's a difference between being good at writing and staying behind, and then being good at writing and actually like pushing yourself to out of your comfort zone. So like I publish my work. Even if I think it's gonna get denied, I publish it. Um, I applied for the internship. I'm in the Scribbler. I help edit for the newspaper at our school. And I do it because I think it helps me become a better writer. And I love making myself a better writer. I think, and then but I also hate the whole like revision thing. I hate that part of it. That part is so difficult. I hate it.
That's fair. When I'm in revision, I learn to hate the piece. And it's very crappy. Um in the revision, it's a crappy feeling. In the revision process, I'm like, why did I even write this? Like, why am I still looking at this? I'm throwing this away. Of course I don't. But also to what you said about it's your thing, but also there's a difference between like being good and being good and pursuing. There was a point in my life where my sister and I were living together, and she told me, do I want to say this? She told me the reason that she didn't go to school for writing is because she's naturally good at it. And I mean, that felt insulting to me at the time. She pursued painting, which I think she's also naturally good at. She's one of those people who doesn't have to try to be good at things. But you know, with what you're saying now, this is awakening lots of thoughts in me. Thank you. You know, there's a difference between being naturally good at something and pursuing it and trying and working at it and getting better. And you're right. There are a lot of people who have some innate talent, but leave it there. And that is absolutely the dividing line. I'm really glad you said that.
A common misconception is that if you're good at something, you're not going to get any better at it. But I think even the most talented writer still needs practice, still needs to pre-write, still needs to go through the writing process. I think you can be just a naturally good writer, but if you don't practice it, if you don't take workshops, if you don't work with people, you're not going to get the second step, which is learning to be okay with hating your writing, be okay with revising and moving on from different pieces. Because if you just think you're good, and if you just think that you're the best darn thing, you're not gonna get anywhere. Because nobody wants to work with a writer who doesn't want to grow. Like,
and there's also like reading other people's writing and interacting with other writers and just reading in general. I know I had this favorite author when I was in high school, and I read like 6 of his books in a row. And on number 6, I was like, all these books are the same. Now a year or 2 later, I met him, and he said he doesn't read. And I was like, oh, that's why all your books are the same. And I go through phases where it's hard to read, but I think that like there's a lot of ego involved in just being like, I can keep writing without reading. Hot take over here, I know. So I'm gonna switch gears a little bit to the internship. How did you hear about the Midwest Writing Center?
so I heard about it through one of my favorite teachers, Mrs. Mercado.
What up, Miss Mercado?
She, I was in her creative writing class, and she was actually recommending it to a different student because she had heard about it mostly through poetry because she knows Ryan, and Ryan's like a big poetry guy. So
Understatement.
at the time, I wasn't really writing poetry. At the time, I thought I was a short fiction writer, which is no. Looking like a year later.
I started out thinking I was a poet, so I'm really enjoying this.
I much more enjoy poetry than I do short fiction. But at the time, I thought I was going to be the next novelist. So she was recommending it to a different student, and that student kind of looked at me and she was like, "You care more about writing than I do. Why aren't you applying?" And
you could have both applied.
Yes, but I think she did. I think she might have, but who knows? She but she was like, "Why aren't you applying?" And then I was like, "You know what? I will." And so I did, and I didn't think I was going to get in because junior year Krystina thought very poorly of herself, and I know it's a lot to say that a year I've changed.
No. I've changed in a year, and I am 90. So,
but I also think with the internship too, my confidence rose like way higher because you learn in the internship that it's not a bad thing to think that you're good. Like how you said earlier, it's not you're obviously we were in the internship for a reason. We all had some sort of talent or some sort of thing that made us stand out through the other people. So obviously if you got in, there's a reason you got in. And I kind of had to keep reminding myself that. And then when I was working my workshop.
Did you know Ava was denied once?
What?
I know. I had no idea. Keep going. I'm not spilling tea here. She did one of these interviews with me and said that. I was like, but you're so good.
My workshop leader, you can stop me from rambling anytime you want.
I like it when you talk.
We were separated into different like workshop groups, and workshop is very like there are a lot of guidelines, but it's also this is your time, take what you need, get what you can from it. But so my workshop leaders were Erica and Kaylee, and both of them, if you know them, they're both like I don't want to say hard asses, but
well, you did.
They kind of are. They're both like in the best way possible. They don't like when you talk down about yourself. So they're both, whenever I was negative about my writing, they were both kind of like aggressive about it. And they got it in my head that I deserved to be there and that my writing was good enough, beyond good enough for people to see it. And then I started realizing that maybe writing is something that I am good at and that I love and that I should show people. And so that the internship helped build my confidence a lot with the different people.
So I remember from 80 years ago. Sorry, I know that's not funny. I remember the word workshop scared me before I had done it. Did you feel like that? Did you know what workshopping was?
Yes, because in my creative writing classes, Mrs. Mercado did the exact same workshop we do in the internship in the classes. So I was already ahead of the game, although it did scare me because the people in the internship
You're
actually
like, oh, these are writers.
Yes, exactly. People in creative writing took it because they got a credit. So some of the people did not care, did not give their honest opinion. The people in the internship gave their honest opinion.
Yeah. I will say the workshop style has changed since I was an intern, for the better. And also, teen Sarah could not hang with y'all. No. I am not embarrassed, like I'm very proud and excited that this kind of talent exists. And also I would not be where I am today without having been through the internship. You know, that's certainly the first time someone called me a writer. And that does amazing things for an artist. But but the workshop style is much less aggressive, I think, much less strict in recent years, which is wonderful. We should, through workshop, be fostering artists and fostering growth and confidence, and not telling people how to do what they do. You know yourself as an artist better than anyone else. So that's a cool thing. So how did you make that decision to apply to the internship? You said you're like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, but what happened in your brain? It's because you're a rebel, and
I don't know. I guess I wanted to know if I was good enough. I guess I wanted to see, because I loved writing. I loved my writing. Maybe I'm a little bit biased. I love, at the time I
love myself. I don't need anybody else.
At the time I was writing short fiction and a little bit of depressed poetry. So I was like, I'm edgy, I'm quirky. So
okay, in one of I was an intern twice, and I used the word razor in a poem, and one of the other interns was like, I don't like this poem because it uses the word razor and it's too dramatic. And I was like, oh, you have a better word. That's how edgy I was, is all I'm saying. I was so edgy that I got called out for it. It wasn't an edgy poem, actually. It was not. I'm so sorry.
So at school and at home, people could just tell me my writing was good because they knew me and they didn't want to hurt my feelings. But I knew that if I submitted writing to like a place that had no idea who I was, they had no reason to accept me just because they didn't want to hurt my feelings. So I was like, okay, time to find out if I actually am good at writing. Time to figure out what I need to work on and what better way to do it. Yeah, I mean, it was just going to be an email. So, but wait, so I was
so fair, but like somebody rejects me in any form and I'm like, oh, so, and you're like, I'm gonna find out if I'm good or if I suck, and then you're like, it's just an email.
Right, actually, so Ryan, he calls
all of the bravery in the world. Like no one else has any because you took it all.
Ryan interviews us before he can like accept us into the internship, and I remember, and also Ryan's not very good at doing it when he says he's going to. So I remember.
I thought you were gonna say he's not subtle, but okay.
No, the week he was like, I'm gonna do interviews this week. 2 weeks later, calls me out of the blue. But so I remember I had this whole list of questions that I was going to ask. Like I was so professional. I had written down a whole list of things that I wanted to say. Like I made my mom practice with me daily on like how I was going to do this interview, right? So then Ryan calls me at like 5 p.m. while I'm driving to Grand Mound with my friend, and we're blaring.
Town of 35.
What?
Town of 35.
We're blaring not so very children-friendly music, and he drives me, he calls me, and I think it's like a random number. So I was like, oh, I'm not gonna answer it. And my friend was like, oh, you should answer it because don't you have that? Because it said Rock Island. So she's like, don't you have that interview? And I was like, oh. So then we turned on the music and I was like, hey. And he was like, hey, do you have a few minutes? And so I started answering, and my dad started blowing up my phone because he hadn't like heard from me in a little bit, and he was trying to figure out dinner and everything. So as I'm on the interview with my dad or with Ryan and everything, my dad is blowing up my phone. I'm sure Ryan can hear the 10,000 calls coming through, and I was like so frustrated because I had this all practiced, and it wasn't supposed to be in a car. And so then he was like, do you have any questions for me? And I was like, and I had the whole list. So I was like, I wanted to be professional and I wrote this whole list, but I don't have it with me. But I don't want that to take away take away any of it. And Ryan just started laughing at me and he was like, no, you're cool, dude. And I was like,
Ryan is my favorite. I don't remember my first interview. It was in person, but I remember my second one, and I was trying to be really chill for my second one. And I was like, so how are the other applicants? And Ryan was like, no. I was like, are they good? I don't. And he was like, no. I was just trying to be like chill and conversational and like learn how, like, I wasn't trying to be competitive. And he just shut it down. Hey, sorry. I love that. I love that you got full Ryan for yours, and I got scary Ryan. And I already knew him too, and I was just like, I love that. That's awesome. Also, I feel like you were a really bad choice for my little infomercial series because you were so gutsy. I feel like, dear everyone, I want you to know the Krystina I met seemed very meek and not gutsy. No, I mean, that's true, but also like you are a whole lot of wonderful things in one human. I just had no idea the guts you have. I'm so impressed. So the first time around, we're rewinding a little bit. What was the application process like?
Scary. I wanted to use big kid words. I remember I had it. I printed out the application 4 separate times, wrote different answers 4 separate times, and then put 4 of the like I went way extra. I had 4 different versions of the application just sitting on the table, and I made my mom read each one of them and tell me which one sounded like I knew what I was doing. Because I
can't imagine they were even that different, but
they all look the same. But I was like, which one sounds which one's better? And I made
also like cheers for your mom for hanging out during your interviews and your application.
My mom, like, when I told her I was doing,
and for telling you can do anything you want to do.
Yes.
Good mom.
When I told my mom I was doing it again this year, she goes, are you gonna be a basket case? And I was like, you know what? I think I will be. But
you.
I remember
bring your original list of questions to your interview.
I should. I know all the answers now, but I'll just bring them anyway.
He's not gonna watch this, right?
So but I also didn't mail out my application until like a month after I had it because I was just terrified of sending it. And then
it's just gonna be an email.
Well, yes, but no, I thought they were literally gonna look at it and just throw it away. They being Ryan. But I was like,
no, you didn't know he existed. I mean, he wasn't a real person. Also, I didn't have anything to do with that part of the process, but I really like the idea of me being like, application, no.
But it was very daunting. I think waiting was the best part because I thought that they just forgot about me. So I was glad. I was like, hey, no rejection email. No, I can keep thinking, I can keep being cocky. There's no one telling me that I'm not good. And then the email came and I ran out to my mom with my computer and I was like, look how awesome I am.
So, okay, I know that I actually downloaded the application today. Clearly I'm going to apply. But what's like the hardest question on there, do you think? See if I can open it while you're talking.
1 second.
The hardest thing is finding a stamp.
Got my application right here. Well, last year it was definitely my like the education or writing experience part because I didn't have any and I wanted to make myself sound as professional as possible, but I wasn't in the scribbler or helping with the newspaper because I didn't know that those were things I liked until the internship. So I remember writing um like library workshops and stuff that I had taken like a day of and like milking it as far as I could. I that's yeah, because I didn't have anything because I just wrote for class and for myself. But this year was a lot easier because I wrote the um, like the workshop groups that I do online through Facebook and like Quint City Poets or Writer Studio. I wrote those down and then Ron can't say I didn't do them because he was there when I attended.
Shout out if you're scared you don't have anything, come to our groups. But also, there's nothing, it's really cool. Like that helps us to understand that like you care about writing and you're already, looking to get better. I don't know, there's a word for it. This is why I write and not talk, right? That you're looking to improve yourself as a writer and invested in writing, but it's also okay if you haven't done that yet because it's scary. I would, if you haven't, say something about why, or like things you're interested in. But is there anything you want to add? Is there anything you think folks should know if they're considering applying?
If don't stress too much about it. If the people who are doing it are very good at knowing if you belong there or not. Like I make it sound like it's some like prestigious academy, but I feel like Ryan has been doing it for so many years. He knows the people who actually care. And if you're just starting, I mean, I was just starting when I joined, and I feel like I've grown so much through it. Like I came to school after the summer. I came there for my senior year, and I was like, "Ha, look at me, I'm hot stuff." I was in an internship over the summer, and I like joined all these different like writing clubs because it brings out a lot of confidence in you. So if you think if you're thinking about doing it, but you're kind of scared because you don't think you're good enough, just do it anyway. Like if and then if like how I bet with Ava, the fact that she was denied once, that's kind of crazy to me. Like you just have to keep trying.
I can't think of someone cooler. Like
because Ava is so good, which just shows that like
so
you just
talented.
have to keep trying. You just have to do your best. And then another thing is make sure with the pieces that you submit, make sure you know what they're about. Because I submitted like just 2 random pieces that I wrote, and one of them was about my sister getting in a car accident, and the other was I just wrote a poem that sounded cool, and I had no idea what the meaning was until Ryan asked me what it was about, and I was like, I don't really know. And I think that would have that may have gotten me some bad marks, but luckily it didn't. I was able to join. So I think know what your pieces are about, know what story you want to tell, and just put yourself out there.
I'll also add, I know that I come off as really, really intimidating. So I kind of hope someone out there finds me intimidating, which is messed up.
I was
But
excited
I'm
for
the assistant director of this internship, so I can say, as also being the person who runs all of our social media accounts, if you want to apply and you have questions or you're nervous and you want like just a tiny bit of encouragement, you can hit me up. I I do make like I do have a presence out there. I am the face of the writing center. And I do a lot of these lessons via video on our YouTube and on Facebook and stuff, but um I said that as a joke that people find me intimidating. And I think that Krystina's laughter is probably all of the validation you need on that.
No, I was
Krystina,
scared of you at first.
no, you were not.
I'm being dead serious because, well, you weren't in my group. And so I had only heard you talk when you were talking about other people. And you were very good about like um representing the people in your group. And so you were like the angry mom. It was like speaking for the people. And then I remember um one time I joined a break room way sooner than I should have, and you were talking to somebody, and I don't remember what you were saying, but you were talking about something in the internship not going right. And I just immediately be like, oh my gosh, she hates me. And then you would just like immediately, I was just like, oh my goodness, she's talking bad about me. It wasn't about me. I learned what it was. But I thought you hated me for a quick second.
Oh,
And now I
no.
call you Aunt Sarah.
Okay,
So.
thank you. I was gonna be like, but will you tell people I'm not scary? Like that. I really want to be intimidating. No. um, that's so funny because if we let you in early, that was like, she's chill. So there was like no worry from me that whatever I was saying was inappropriate. Um, so that's really great.
you, you
Um,
you were talking about like immature or something. I don't remember, but it was about something related to my group. And I was like, oh
I don't think
no.
it was. I remember being very upset about one thing in particular during the internship, and that was that people were too nice. Um, so I don't think it was any group in particular because I only ran one group, um, which also I guess shows how hardcore we are not. I think everybody's too nice.
I we were in a group, like our workshop group, and we were we are kind of going around the rough spots. We were trying to avoid them and one person's work. And I remember just straight up being like, because I was just kind of trying to be nice. And then I was like, well, she's not going to learn unless I say something. So I spoke up and I was like, I kind of hate this piece, and here's why. And I said it just like bluntly like that. I was like, I kind of hate this piece. And I remember everybody in my workshop group just kind of looked at me because I had never spoken out loud like that before. And they were all kind of like,
Like I'm looking at you.
yeah. So then I was like, I'm sorry.
We actually try to train you not to use words that include value judgment, like I like or dislike a piece. But go on. I really want to hear the rest of this.
I was like, wait, should I not have said that? And my workshop leaders were very good about being like, we needed that feedback. We needed somebody to be honest, but we need to use nice words too. And so
That is so Kaylee. I see her saying that.
um
But we need to use nice words too.
I mean, nobody was mad at me for saying it. The person whose piece it was understood completely where I was coming from. And I wasn't just like, I hate this piece. I went in and I was like, it's not my favorite, and blah blah blah. I hate it because blah blah blah. But now I know how to be nice about hating someone's work.
I want to show too, this is the cover of the atlas that features Dear Krystina Franks. This is what we spend the summer putting together. It is a whole book. It is gorgeous. My cat is very excited. Hi, baby.
One of the cool things is we get to format it. So we edit everything. We put in the pages. Like, we don't like forcefully put the pages in, but we get to order them. And the whole book is us. which I think is really nice. When going into it, I didn't know that we designed an entire journal, but we do, and it's really cool.
I'm going to read your bio here. Krystina Franks is a young writer from DeWitt, Iowa. She enjoys telling stories, collecting anything yellow themed, and spending time with her cat Monday. You can usually find her people watching at the park or Googling the closest sunflowers field. Which reminds me, I'm planting sunflowers in front of my house. So let me rephrase. My sweetheart is planting sunflowers in front of my house. So your final piece of advice was just do it, right?
Yeah, just do it.
And did you bring us a writing prompt?
Oh yes. Okay. So I'm gonna preference it first. So, do you know what a when somebody says who's your yellow? Do you know what that means?
I don't.
Okay, so your yellow is someone who you hold very close to you, is someone who's like very cheery and bright and um keeps you going. And so my writing prompt is to write about your yellow, whether that be a person or a thing
Or cat.
or a cat.
Mine just left, so I needed to comfort him. You're still on my mind. Thank you so much, Krystina. This was like enlightening and invigorating for me. And I can't help but assume that it will be for others who, want to be you, right? They want to be where you are with their writing. They want to be where you are with your future, with your self-assuredness. And I'm so excited to know you. And I feel like you're gonna get like a whole fan club. Yeah, so thank you for being with us. As always, I hope that you write more light into your life. And a reminder that prompt is who is your yellow, or what is your yellow?